Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SilverSilk and More channel. My name is Nilay Patel. I'm the owner, designer, and educator here at SilverSilk and More, and I want to welcome you to a very special week of classes called Beatscapade. I feel like every year it's a different and new theme, and this is a time of the year where I get to kind of just reconnect with my customers, have some fun on the background, create lots of designs, and I even get to have some of my best bead pals with me. And Miss Christi Friesen is no exception to my bead pallery, and also just a creative force that I love working with. She is so inspirational, so magical, and so inventive. And I just want to welcome her in. Hi, Christy. Oh, she seems a little frozen at the moment. Let's see if we can.
Yeah, I was just waiting for you to come back on to see if it was me on my end or your end or what, but I see us both. That's a good sign, right?
Yes, yes, we're both here. We're both alive. We're both just doing our thing, honey.
Oh, technology. It's just nuts when technology does things.
It is. We got it under control.
So if we freeze as we go along, people can just insert their own conversations into our frozen heads. And then when we come back on, they'll see how close they got.
I love that idea. I might do the same too. And then if you
I'll make a lot of crazy gestures so you don't even know what's happening.
We still have audio too. So if I need to become you, if you talk, I will just lip sync.
Beautiful. I love that sound anyway.
I don't know if I can instruct as well as you, but I'll try.
I'm sure you've got it. Just keep saying, put the thing in the thing. That's all I ever say. So it's all good.
All right, first things first. I want to toast to you, Christy, for being here.
Yay! Cheers!
Cheers.
Woohoo!
Y'all, I'm drinking the best coffee cocktail. What are you having, Christy?
I have a Lilikoi gin and tonic.
Oof, dang.
Right, baby? Because I had a whole handful of fresh Lilikoi. And man, you have not had fruit juice until you've had Lilikoi. Right off of the crazy, shriveled, dumb thing that shouldn't be a fruit, but is. It's so good.
Dang, I've never tried one before.
Oh, baby. Well, when you come out here, I'll make sure I get you set up.
I know. I'm making this trip happen soon, sometime soon. I've never actually been to Hawaii before.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, if you can, that'll be awesome. And we'll have all kinds of beverages.
All kinds of beverages, all kinds of fun, and so much bead catching up to do.
Oh, for sure that would be a blast. Yeah, we got all the places now. I know all the places to go and all the places not to go, of which that's a very short list. So you can't really go wrong.
Anything's on there.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm excited about today's project, and
you should be.
I got your stuff in the mail, so I've got it all spread out over my desk, but I just wanted to bring attention to one specific thing, which was this little guy that you sent me. I loved it so much because it's a little squish toy that I decided we should just be surrounded by it.
I love it. And did you know, Nilay, it glows in the dark?
You know what? I read that in your little memo here, so I need to try it out.
I love it. We're filled with squishy joy. Squishy joy.
Yeah. And so if you do feel the urge to squish, I'm just going to wear a face. Like... I feel the squishies.
Oh my goodness, that looks really great. Yep, it looks terrific with that outfit on too, with that green shimmer. I think the squish goes with it beautifully. Styling, man, styling.
I'm saying. So if I feel like that during the presentation, I'm just going to bring this banner up and we'll just make the magic happen.
Well, you warned me that something was going to happen.
I know. That squish toy inspired the whole evening.
Oh my gosh, I forgot I had sent you that. That's great.
I know, I love that.
It's weird feeling, right? Like you shouldn't touch it because it's too gross, but also you can't help it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a stress ball, but I can't be stressed out when I touch it because I don't know what to think. But it makes me happy. I know that.
That's good. That's what I wanted. So mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. So I'm gonna flash over the project that we're gonna be making and maybe you can get us started, and then I could just kind of pan between our
Oh,
workspaces.
have you already got a picture of it for people to see instead of me holding it all up all weird?
Oh,
But
I mean,
I
I would love to take a
can.
photo for the camera. Oh, wait, let me take these little silly things off. There we go. Oh my
Actually, I think they're neat. So
gosh,
it's got
all those
so many
incredible
sparkles on it.
sparkles.
So this is just kind of, I've called it Love Abounds because I couldn't really call it like pizzazz in your face. That seemed a little bit aggressive. So I just called it Love Abounds, but it's kind of also could be called pizzazz in your face if you want.
Well, I was about to name it Christi Friesen and the Technicolor pendant, but you know, I had to shorten it.
I love that. That would be awesome. Okay, that's its new name. Yeah. Oh, I love it. You're always coming up with something wacky and delightful. I love
I
that.
mean,
And I
you
see so many
instigate it.
people are on, and usually I'm like saying hi to everybody. And I have to apologize, you guys. A lot of you are talking to both of us, of course, and saying hello. And the way my camera's set up today is I can't quite see on YouTube. It's smaller than when I do my Facebook. So I'm like, what is that? But I'm seeing everybody saying hi, and I just love that. So if you have any questions or something for us as we go along, I'm sure Nilay's got all this squared away. But if it doesn't get answered, just roll it back up again until one of us just shouts out or whatever. Because normally I
Absolutely.
would be good on that, but I'm not going to be as good on it as today. But hi, y'all. How's everybody?
A blanket hello to everybody. No, I'm going to, I'll flash up comments as we sort of get started, and
Fabulous.
we can both say hellos and answer any questions that kind of come up as
Perfect.
people are doing this. Let us know, y'all, if you've got your epoxy clay out and if you've gotten the kit from Christi, if you want Christi to make more kits, because I know I
I
did.
know. I thought I had so many more of them, but I ran out of this little crystals. But then, lo and behold, I have a kit that's called the Apoxie Sculpt Makers Kit right here, which I
Oh,
found, and that's on my site. And it has a big cluster of those little crystals, which means that if you guys want me to make more of the kit that was with this thing, I could confiscate some of these kits and just cannibalize them for that other kit. But otherwise, you get everything in this one that you were going to get anyhow, except for maybe, everything. So just get this one, the
just get that one.
Epoxy
Listen, we'll
Sculpt
find the link
Makers
and
Kit.
we'll post it to that kit
I
on the
can
back.
do that right this minute.
Oh,
Hold on.
perfect.
I have technology some days.
While you
I
do
have the
that,
technology. I just don't always have the brains. That's the problem. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm there. That one was sold out. Maker's Kit. That's the one. Okay.
Maker's
Linking
Kit.
it right
That sounds
now.
like a very comprehensive kit for the whole epoxy clay, like,
It's a
adventure.
good one because it's got the tools. Okay, wait. It's coming your way, guys. There it
Perfect.
is. It's got a little pad to work on, some gloves, which you'll need, tweezers and a pickup pencil, a bunch of little beads and embellishments, and including those big crystals and the little small shiny ones that we'll be using today. So yeah, that's perfect. And it comes with epoxy clay. You get to pick black or white. And we're using black for this project because that will be in that kit as well, because it just pops on the black. But you
I'm
could choose the
saying I
white.
was so stunned when I saw that pendant because it was something that was completely, can you hold it up again?
I
It was
can.
completely something that I didn't expect, but then I wasn't surprised that you brought like the most extravagant project to this.
I'm taking a minute because I'm gonna put the little a stringer in here because I forgot I had that too.
Ooh.
Cause see, look,
Yes, with the silver silk. Oh
doesn't that look great?
gosh.
Isn't that shimmer shammery? Woo, woo, baby, woo,
Everything
woo, woo, woo,
so
woo.
sparkly.
Yeah, sparkle will be fun. And I figured this would be a good one too because except for the epoxy sculpt, they already have the silver silk, and I would bet you that most of the people watching might have some crystals in their stash. I'm going out on a limb, but I would bet that probably I'll have some crystals. So I figured you could do this easily without having to get the extra from me, except for the epoxy sculpt, which I sell that individually as well on my site. So just wander over there. That link will get you started on the site. You can find it
Well,
if
I always
you.
say you can never have enough sparkles, and you can always support the local small shops like we are, and so
Yes,
or just follow that link.
yeah.
Joan, would you mind double posting if you're able to find it on the back end to both the SilverSilk YouTube and Facebook? Oh, she already did.
That
I'm telling you,
Jones is on top of it. I'll
is
tell you what,
amazing.
that is amazing.
Y'all give some
That's so
snaps
great.
for Joan out there. She is an incredible woman. Some
I'm
hearts.
going to toast Joan.
I'm going to
Toast
toast
to you,
Joan.
Joan.
And my other brand ambassador, Teresa, who they
And
do
Teresa.
so much to help me.
I love that you've got a coffee thing. That's very smart.
Yeah, I
Keep your
needed something to it's 5 o'clock where I'm at, right? It's already dark outside. I'm
That's
like,
just nuts.
where is my day?
Oh, that it gets depressing, doesn't it? I think we should all just take the winter off. We get, you know,
That's what I'm
somehow
doing this
magically
week.
there's money in the bank account. We all take the winter off and everything's great.
That's what I'm
We'll work
saying.
on that.
I
We'll
like
work
this.
on that. We'll put our army of squishies on it and see if they can
Wait,
figure
where
it
are
out
they?
for us. Come on,
Where's our
squishies, do your thing.
band of squishies? Here, there we go. We'll just send the squishies out.
Get on out there and fix things for us. Come on.
Go fix things.
Doesn't that
They're not
face look like we got this? No problem.
All right, so shall we get started, Christy? What do
We
we
can so do that. And then what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm not like all of these people who have figured out how to have various cameras and such. I'm working on it, by which I mean I haven't done anything about it yet. But I've thought about it, doing about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this thing around so it's going to go woo, which is fun and a little bit like a roller coaster. And then I'm just going to talk and do things, and then Nilay can provide any kind of facial expressions that you need. Okay, is everybody ready for this? Okay, here we go. So theoretically,
Ooh.
I know, right? Let's see if we're lined up. I think we're mostly lined up. You're not seeing under the table, under my legs and other unmentionables. So I think we're good.
Is there any way we can get a little closer to your table, Christy?
We can, and hopefully my camera won't go freaking out on us as I get too close to it. But I think that could work. How about that?
Maybe a little closer. I'm
Beep, beep,
really
beep,
like,
beep, beep, beep. How about that?
I think that could work. That's much
All
better.
right. Oh, you can see what's going on now. How clever of you. Well, I'm going to run through the supplies super quickly, just in case. So we already talked about crystals. I have these big old honkers, which are in this whole kit. And the kits that those of you who bought the kit, you know about that. Then I have a whole little vial full of these just AB glass rhinestone flatbacks. Any kind of rhinestone, whether it's a chaton or a flatback, don't matter. It's all good. Then we've got the SilverSilk. So we have, this is like the capture chain, yeah?
Yeah, that's the capture chain in silver.
And this isn't. This is thin little wiggly stuff. What's that called?
So that is the 3-needle chain that I have, and it's not new to SilverSilk. I'm like reaching up and getting some trays.
I think this is called thin and sexy. So you want to get some of the thin and sexy and some of the chunky and voluptuous. So a little of both will work for us, I think.
That's a perfect description.
And then I'm using Apoxie Sculpt, which is an epoxy clay. So Apoxie Sculpt is my brand of choice. There are other epoxy clays out there, and all of them will work groovily. The reason I use this one is manifold, but the short version is I get an hour's worth of work time, which I like. And it's, you know, really low odor, easy to work with, stays sticky for that hour. I like that. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm using black, as we discussed, for the sparkle pop hole thingamaroo. Then the other things that you might want to have lying around, as I usually have some kind of spoons to take some of this out. And I have gloves because I'm going to be doing mixing and I don't want it all over my fingers. Once it's mixed, it doesn't matter. Wet wipes at the handy, you know, a drink, obviously, for drinking beverage purposes, which you might need. And then a little bit of 28 gauge or thinner wire. 28 gauge works really well to make these little pom-pom foofs. So I'll show you how to do that. Then just so far as tools go, wire cutter pliers good, scissors are good. And then some kind of pickup thing. I've got a crystal katana and a crystal kubaton. Those are really nice. And I think you use those too if you work with crystals, yeah?
You know, I actually don't have any of those.
Okay. Well, in the kit, there's just like a little white grease pencil, pickup pencil. That works super fantastic grand. And so that's cool. And then tweezers. You need some tweezers. Also, bring your fingers. You will be using those quite a lot.
You know what? I can't go anywhere without my fingers.
Right? They're the best. And then the last thing would be a little straw, because we're going to use the straw to insert in here to hold those little loop-de-doos open, because the epoxy clay won't stick to it, which I thought was rather clever. And I gave myself like permission to have a second chocolate bar after I came up with that idea, because I
So
was
clever.
impressed with myself.
It is
All
just
right.
like simplest tools that make life so much more enjoyable.
Right, just the simplest tools. The other tool that I will use for blending and stuff is my Wow It's Awesome tool. This I use for everything, but anything you've got lying around is going to work. Mostly we're just using fingers on this thing, so we're not going to need a lot of tools. This is very truly a beginner's project. It's super easy and you're going to love it. So I've gloved up. You don't have to have gloves, but it is nice if you can, because it will keep you from getting the epoxy clay on your fingers. And for those of you who are brand new to epoxy clay, and Nilay, I have a tendency to talk a lot. You might have noticed. Just interrupt anytime I need to stop a minute and explain something more, or if you have a question, or you can sense from the audience that something needs to be explained or whatever, just stop me and I'll shut up possibly.
I'm getting some fun comments on the background. Lorena says Jennifer, who's another one of our friends that's joining in, says that she's right. This is basically a comedy hour, but with crafting.
Oh, I love that. And I wish you guys could have seen what I just did in the comedy hour. I have a dapping tool over here, which is a nice big block with all these concave bits in it, if you've ever done dapping, right? So I accidentally bunked my drink, which splashed and filled up all of the little dapping tool impressions. And that's all. It didn't even overflow. So I was pretty impressed with that as well. And I wish you guys could have seen it, because that was pretty great. But it's out of camera and I don't want to touch it because it's filled to the brim. So yeah, thanks, Jennifer. All right, what I'm doing now is epoxy clay is a two-part, and many things are, that you've got two equal parts and you mix them together and science occurs and they become something else, right? So that's what we're doing here is I eyeball it, and I'm just going to make two little bloblets that are approximately equal size.
Okay.
And I am approximately.
Did you just use like half as much from the container?
I think it's not even half. It's about a third. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I think a third at the most. I always like to make too much because I have additional projects that I can do when I've got like a whole bunch of like little jars, and I put legs on jars if I ever make too much epoxy clay, which is always because I don't want to like run out right when I'm on the last bit. That's annoying.
Oh, totally.
So this is a blob about the size of a cherry. That's the size I'm going to use. And make sure you get some of part A and some of part B, because if you just get two of the same part, you'll get this whole great thing done and it will never harden and you'll be sad and you'll have to pick all your bits out and they'll be crying and it will just not be pretty. So get some, one should be gray or one should be
never dries.
Yeah, and then what you can do is just like put it on display for people to see, but it will never actually become anything. And now mixing the two together. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm using my gloved fingers because look at how much gunk you get on you. I don't want that on my hands. So it is non-toxic, but it's a chemical. So we always want to minimize how much chemicals getting all over everywhere. So I'm kneading it and smashing it. The idea is to get this thoroughly mixed so you do not see any part one or part two. You just see all solid, in this case, solid black.
Do we need to warm up both of the individual like cherry-sized balls by themselves, or do we?
Well, if you live in some place that's cold, that's a great idea. If you live in Hawaii, not necessary. but yes, that actually is a good idea. And what you even can do, sometimes it hardens. Like this particular product keeps for years, but it can get a little hardened, especially the gray part, the part B.
Yeah.
It can get a little crusty looking and hard. So what you can actually do is take your two little balls, and the gray one you could put in a little Ziploc bag and just put it in some hot water for like 5 minutes, just like hot water out of the sink, and that'll soften it up a bit. Or you can just roll it around in your hands a lot if you want to do that as well. That will also be a great idea. So well said, Nilay. Put a gold star next to your name for that one. That was
I'm in your class, Christy, because I'm making it at the same time.
Excellent. Now, Stacy says, could I use Sculpey, which is a polymer clay, and bake the end product? Hell yes, you can, because these are glass. This is metal. Everything will go in the oven. The only thing you don't want to do is use the plastic straw, because then that will become a part of your medallion, which you may, or your pendant, which you may not want, unless you're going for a whole Salvador Dali melted, look. That'd be fine. In which case, then I would switch over to like a knitting needle or something, a metal knitting needle, or a skewer, a wooden skewer. This I'm using with the epoxy clay to hold these things open when we get to that part, because the epoxy clay won't stick to the plastic. But that was a great question, Stacy. So yeah, you can, guys. If you're a polymer person, then of course. So the next thing I'm going to do, Nilay, any questions yet before we go from here?
No, I do have a comment from I'm going to read a few comments, though.
Read them. Yes,
Teresa
baby.
says you two would make great dinner guests. We should just raffle off a ticket, Christy, and invite
I think that would be great. I love that. Now, I will have you know, though, I have a very expensive dinner request taste, so you'd have to be able to put out. But if you could put out, then I'm in. Yeah. Gourmet or nothing, baby.
And Sarah says, no crying in crafting unless you're crying laughing.
Hey, that even rhymes. Did she know that? Because that's awesome.
Well, I added the end part of it.
Oh, did you? Well, see, look at that. Look, a true showman. I tell you, just got that last little bit. Here, I just finished cleaning this up. So this is that dapping tool I was telling you about, and it just filled up each one of these things.
Oh, it's like a little shot glass.
So dumb. Oh my gosh.
Question, Christy. I don't have the silicone or the tile to work on. So I'm using parchment paper. Is that okay?
That's perfect. And I'm actually really glad you said that, because sometimes I forget to let you know that I'm actually, because I do it so often, you forget. So you can work on a plastic bag. You can work on a piece of like saran wrap or Glad wrap around a tile. Any kind of rubber silicone baking sheet, any kind of plastic, wiggly plastic will be great. Parchment paper, you'll be able to, what I would do, Nilay, is once you're done and it's set up for like maybe a couple of hours, then I would sort of peel away the parchment paper and put it back down, just so that you're not trying to like scrape it off later. It won't stick per se, but you might have to scrape it a bit but if you peel it off and break that connection, make them break up and see other people, then it should be okay.
Oh my God, I love
you. Okay, so are we ready? So you've mixed up your goo. You have something nonstick to put it on. Thank you so much. If you do it directly on a tile, what you will have created is a wall piece, which may not be what you wanted. So you want to make sure you have a nonstick surface. So thank you for that. All right. So now I've taken my gloves off. I've got a wet wipe handy, so I can just wipe my fingers as needed. Since I'm not doing mixing anymore, I'm not going to be getting it like all over. And I'm going to roll it into a ball. This allows me to pick out any insect bits or pet hair or whatever else might be lying around. And then I'm going to shape it into whatever form. I went with just sort of not really a heart, but it's a sort of a shield, kind of almost a heart shape, for no reason. I just felt like it. So that means you could make a circle, you could make an oval, you could make a kidney, you could make an asterisk, whatever you want. But I'm going to stick with this shape because it's interesting, it amuses me, and it's easy. So this is going to be the bottom. Then we're going to put some things in it and then put a top piece. So this is pretty thin. I'd say it's a little thicker than a quarter. And I'm flattening it down onto here. And one thing I love about working on the silicone mat, and like I said, a silicone baking sheet works great as well, is that it really grabs onto the mat. So when you're working, it's not slipping all over the place. But then as soon as it dries, it peels right off, easy breezy, which is good.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm having a bit of trouble trying to figure out the size of what this should be. Is there any tips or ideas or tricks?
Okay, so here's a tip. It should be exactly the size that it ends up being. It's really like absolutely no rhyme and reason. I rolled mine out a little less than half of what I mixed up, which was, I think, about this big right here. So something like this. So it's pretty much just a little smaller. Actually, might have been about half. So, you know, we made the two cherries and mixed them together. So you kind of just divide it back in half. I did a little less than half because I'm going to cover it and then I want a little extra just in case.
Mhm.
But that will flatten out into this nice shape. But honestly, if you like a more petite pendant, go smaller. If you like a big old honking breastplate to stop bullets, then go bigger. You know, it just kind of depends on what mood you're in. And then you just keep flattening it. And there's no too thin. I like it to be a little bit more thin so it's not as weighty, although it's not really very heavy no matter what. So yeah, I would say it's about as thick as a quarter. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In fact, I was gonna show you this if we take a quick pause
Yeah.
and show you like what I'm working with, which that looks really crappy compared to yours.
No, that's perfect because we're not going to see the edges. We're
I
going
guess
to be
that's
putting crystals all over them, so it's all groovy, baby. That's perfect.
okay,
I
good.
love it. That's perfect.
All right, back to you.
Well done. All right, so then I'm going to take my capture chain and I'm going to cut. I want to cut it so that I can make a little loop like this that I'm going to hang it from later. And if I
Mhm.
make it too short, then it's going to be really hard to fold on itself without fighting me. And if I make it too long, it's going to be a fairly big loop, which you might like. So I'm making it this big, which is what, about 2 inches maybe at the most.
Yeah, I think that's about 2
Yeah.
inches.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shove. Most of the techniques that I'm going to show you involve shoving in some way. It's just more fun, I find. So I'm shoving the ends in, and that is going to grab inside the clay because this is a clay that hardens into a cement. So it is a sculptural material that's also a cement, which amuses me quite a bit.
That is
So shove, shove, shove. That'll make sure the ends are firmly grabbed. That'll mean it's grabbing all of its little ball chains, so they're not going to try and sneak off when you're not looking, which they like to do. And then I'm going to take them and just fold them in and pull them back in. And I did two going one way like this and one going the other way. I don't know why. I just did. If you go like, yeah, I don't like that, I'm going to do them all going the same way, then that would be also great. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make them all about the same size so that when your capture chain runs through this way, they're all similar, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can be grabbed nicely. So see that? And these two are like kissing each other, and that guy's over here all by himself. That's okay too. They're all
There's always
friends.
a third wheel.
Yeah. He said rude stuff at a party, and now he's got to get his way back into good graces. You know how that is. Happens.
I love the backstories that you come up with just on animate materials.
And you don't have to put this here. This will be fine without it. If you're like, oh no, I was going to do this project, but I don't have a straw, then don't even fret. I did this just to kind of help make sure that these were open properly and I kind of could see what I was doing. It's more like a way of kind of guiding and making sure that they all are about the right height together. So that's not like going to be super crazy when I wear it and be all dangly sideways and stuff.
Oh,
All right,
that's a
so
good
now what I'm going to do is I'm going
point.
to take a little bit of this because I'm going to want to go over the top of this and just shove all these. See, I told you about shoving. Shove all these in good and tight and make sure that they're all attached. This is the hardest part of the whole project. And as you can tell, that means this is not a very hard project at all. And you'll also notice that now this is asymmetrical, right? As was this one. So I had two leaning one way, one the other. I did this on purpose because when you're working like this, trying to get everything perfect will drive you out of your mind. But if you make it balanced and harmonized, then that is great. And so if I've got two touching and one a little farther away, then I can make a cluster here or there and balance that off. As you could tell, you see, I did lots of clusters only on one side. So I'm not trying to like put it down the middle and make everything perfect on both sides. Therein lies madness. So you just want to try to make it look kind of fun. And then I'm going to take another little bit and just cover up all of that, hide your shame, and get that all covered. And now, if you want to flip it around, you can see that there is like a gap up here where the two came together. And you can use a tool to kind of get in there and push it down a little bit if you want and close it up a bit or not. We're going to put some crystals and stuff up there in a minute. So it doesn't have to be like super well. As long as it's pushed down together, it doesn't have to be blended and seamless because we're going to use the decorations, the embellishments to kind of fake it for us. That's another thing I'm a big fan of, is why make it perfect when you can just put an embellishment on it?
You know,
I'm,
it
I'm just
is
saying.
a great way to mask some of the flaws and
Yes.
unintentional stuff that happens throughout the project. And, you know, what better way to make the eye trick than to, I guess, like just
Yes.
put something sparkly there.
Exactly. So you can kind of see up here, in case I can't lift this up in time, I've put little sparklies all here. So yeah, I fooled you into thinking I knew what I was doing, and basically I'm just shoving crystals everywhere, and that's enough for me. So we got a couple of choices here, Nilay.
Mhm,
What we're gonna do is we're gonna make some of these little pom-pom-itty doos.
mhm.
And we can add more epoxy clay down here if we want to, but I don't want to. I've just filled this in and I'm happy with that. So we've got extra that can be used, but we don't got to. I'm going to hide it so nobody has to be worried about it and wonder what happened to it. But I've got it just in case I need it to fill in any gaps. I don't have the straw back in just yet. I don't really even need it anymore. I just wanted to make sure that they all hung nicely. And that could be something where you could take your capture chain right now and just sort of see, does this hang how I want? Or, should I pull something out a little bit more, or that's a time to do that. And then stick this in if you want to. I am going to ignore it now because I'm over it. So what we want to do is I would say that I like to kind of put my pom-poms in first, or my big crystals in first. And I'll just let you guys decide, what do you think we should put in first? The big crystals or the little pom-pom business? What's the feeling of the people?
Well, let's see. It might take a couple seconds for us to get
Yeah.
some answers in, but that's a great
In the
question.
meantime, while they're thinking about it, I'll show you how to make the pom-pom, because
Oh,
that's an important part. So
yeah.
here's all of that thin and sexy little chain, and I'm just going to wrap it around my finger or something loosely if I want to make a small palm, which I do, or I can wrap it around 2 fingers if I want to make a big palm, which I don't care about at the moment. And then once I've got like a little wraparound, I'm going to pinch it in the middle. By the way, these little ends want to flick off and be all over everywhere. Just be aware of that. It's not a biggie, but sometimes then you're picking out little bits of that chain everywhere, which just stick a crystal on it. But so I've flattened this down a little bit, and now I'm just going to take 28 gauge wire, wrap it around. Okay, so I've got a little wrap around like a bow tie. I'm going to pull this chain up so that I can grab a hold of the 2 ends of the wire, and I'm just going to twist those suckers
Oh,
thusly.
that's so great. What size wire are you working with again?
28 gauge.
28 gauge. Okay,
That
so
seems to be the good one. I like that for this. Anything thinner is a little bit wiggly and it doesn't hold up as well. Anything thicker and there's a lot more cursing, which, I could try to minimize that. And then you can just pull it apart and make it into a fluffer and see, look,
oh,
now we've got flippity flip flops, and make as many of those as you want. And I'm using the silver stuff, but it obviously could be any color. And I made several. Okay, so I don't know if there's a lot of people saying big crystals. So I'm
big
seeing
crystals.
you,
I got a
Jennifer
couple
says
pom
pom
poms.
pom, right? Nile, you have the deciding vote. What do you want us to put in first?
You know what? I'm gonna say pom poms.
Pom poms, you got it. So Nile is the winner of this because it's his show. So he has spoken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look this over and go, do I feel that there needs to be a balance one way or the other? On this one, I put palms all over on this side, right? And I think just for the consistency of it, I'm going to do the same because I don't want to be mixing it all up so much that people are freaking out. But you can do whatever you want. And see this little piece here? I'm just going to stab it in. I'm going to take my needle nose tweezers and insert that sucker all the way in until I've covered the wire. And if it's hard to do that, then I can cheat by going back and taking a little bit of my clay and jamming it right over, thus pretending that I covered my wire. Which in art, the neat thing about it is as long as nobody gets hurt, you can do whatever you want. So I am shoving. Look at that fun little cluster, right? And then I'm
Wow.
going to make another little cluster shoved down a little farther over here. Ooh, or over here. What do you think? We could go this way or we could go this way. What are we feeling?
I like let's see, your left side.
This side here?
Yeah.
All right, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And I'm shoving it in. Ugh! All right, now we've got it.
Oh my God,
Fabulous.
so cute.
I like it. So now I've just picked a small assortment of crystals based on nothing, and I'm going to put them in wherever. No rhyme or reason. You can't do it wrong. There is no way to screw it up. So I'm just shoving these in. These are just glass rhinestones with a, foil back. And I'm going to put in a couple of biggies in a way that amuses me. And I think I want this guy to be just down here at the bottom. Now, if you've got more, by all means, put in more. However, the more you put in, the less you have to cover it with other things. And I know in the kit, I gave you quite a few. I'm going to immediately confiscate this other stuff because I can and see what we've got going on in here. And you might be like, you know what? I don't want that many colors. That's just dumb, Christi. Why so many? And I might just because I feel like it. So don't judge me. But anyway, I'm going to just put this many in for funsies. Now, at this point, you're going to look at it and go, yeah, that looks stupid. Yes, it does, because it doesn't have all of these, which is what ties everything together and makes it look like you knew what you were doing.
I see. I'm still deciding where I want my pom-pom to be. Is the stage that I'm at. But I think you know what? We are not shy of color here at SilverSilk and More. I will tell you that.
Right. You can just make as many palms as you want and put them everywhere. Like I could have made the whole fringe all, anywhere, putting as many as you like. So I love what I love about this is that you can just use this as a basic starting point. Every single one that you do is different. Every single one is correct. There's no wrong. Any amount of colors, if you go sort of a purist kind of color palette and you picked all one color instead of like a whole bunch of colors, sometimes I want it to look like Swarovski vomited on it. Other times I want it to be like a fancy lady who knows how to pick out her clothing nicely, but not always. Sometimes I'm in a thrift store mood. You just never know.
Well,
So now what I'm doing is while Relay's playing with his, I'm just picking up the biggest crystals first. Because my theory is always cover it with the big stuff and then fill in the gaps with the little stuff. That's what I think. It works really nicely with this. So I'm taking these large crystals and I'm just shoving them around. And the thing with epoxy clay, as long as it's embedded into the clay, at least a little bit. So I place it with my pickup tool and then I shove it in with my fingers or the back of a tool. You can use, a needle tool or a popsicle stick or, somebody else's fingers, whatever you've got lying around, and just press it in. Try not to use your pickup tool to press things in because that's going to mash the tip, and the tips don't like to get mashed, is what I'm saying. So you're going to
fingers,
right? So, and when you got little ones, you can just tuck them here and there. And these should go not only all over the surface of the front part where you can see, but bring these babies all the way to the side, all the way to every place that you can possibly cover them. And that's going to be the difference between and oh my, that is amazing. It just makes it look finished. It makes it look really good and classy when it's covered every square inch that you can cover.
Yeah, it's intentional and with purpose, and
yes.
It just looks like it belongs there.
Exactly. And other things that could also work. Just about any kind of bead is going to work fine. Pearls will work fantastic. I would say that you want to make sure that whatever kind of bead and stuff that you're using, especially if you're using the black epoxy clay, or it's Apoxie Sculpt brand of epoxy clay. Just in case somebody's coming in late to that, I want you to make sure you get the difference between the two. Anything that you sit in here is going to work. The only things that don't work really well are like plastics, lucite, acrylics. Those need some tricks to make them stay because nothing likes to stick to plastic, but anything else is going to be terrific. But if you're using like a glass bead, you're going to want to see how it looks in the color that you've chosen, because if your epoxy clay is black and then you're using a translucent or transparent bead, it's just going to get swallowed up. But if you've got something like this where there's the foil behind, all the chatons work great. Anything with a little oomph to it, you can use lampwork glass. It's got like opaqueness to it instead of the translucent stuff. You can use stones. If you've got a whole bunch of cabochons, you can use that. You can use pottery shards. I mean, pretty much the sky is the limit. If you can shove it, you can use it.
Oh my gosh, I am obsessed with
Right?
these foil bags. Obsessed with
It
them.
looks so good, doesn't it?
It's
And look
so
at how that's just it went from looking like somebody sneezed a bunch of gemstones on here to looking again like it was designed, that somebody, did this on purpose. It's just amazing. If in doubt, put more stuff on it. That's what I say.
I agree. I think
Yeah. I mean, simplicity for design is always really wonderful, but when it comes to doing this sort of mosaic assemblage style, I think more is better. Because otherwise it looks like somebody had some gum and they just were stepping on stones and then oops, so you don't want that look. You want it to like like it was designed, and they, somebody did something on purpose here.
exactly. I think that that's a great way. I mean, you've used all kinds of references for the evening. Things that
Right.
I never thought of. But
It's a metaphor rich environment today.
I'm saying.
It must be the cocktails we're drinking. It really fires up my wordsmith neurons or whatever.
I love it.
All right, so now I'm starting to get around the sides here, and I've saved the boring part for last, which is up around the front. But I think you can already see how nice that looks. And one thing I love about this particular tool, this Wow It's Awesome tool, is that if something's sticking out a little bit much, all I got to do is tuck it, and it'll just kind of shove it back into place and make it do what it's supposed to do. And make sure you wipe off your tools, because you get little residue of epoxy on there, and that's, will get your gunk up on your tools there. But you can always use a carborundum stone to sand that off if that happens. So don't worry, but it's better if you don't have to do extra work, right?
Exactly. I was going to flip over to my camera so that folks can see that I'm also in the journey.
Yeah.
So that's what I've got.
Not realizing that I've scooted down a little bit less than ideal camera range, so I'll scoot up while you're doing that. Oh, Neely, I love it. I love it. That looks really good.
Decoration. It is so fun, you guys. I'm having just a ball decorating this. And
I'm so glad.
Not shy about all the colors included in this.
Sometimes that's really fun. I mean, a lot of times I've done things when it's just like one colorway. I'll just pick one or two colors and that's it. And I love how that turns out. But sometimes you just want to be all that.
Want to be all the colors today.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Right. Well, you finished up that way quicker than probably the rest of us.
Well, I have done this more than once, which helps. Because that does really help when you've got familiarity with what you're doing. Then you just rip, and it's done. Like probably somebody watching you put the little end cap on there to hold the end in properly. Like I'd still be fumbling with my wire cutters or whatever else while you've got like 6 all done. So yeah, I think that's just it's a practice thing, not necessarily a skill thing.
Yes, for sure. One thing I did think of is I have sticky fingers, and I'm getting all kinds of marks over my crystals. And so after this dries, I'm wondering if it's a good idea to kind of spray it down with some glass cleaner.
That is a really great idea. What would be good is I would suggest just using a wet wipe, because it's already got sort of the glass cleaner type stuff on it. Yeah. So after you're done putting everything on there, maybe you let it set up for just a little while, but don't forget about it. And I usually do it right when I'm done, because I do have a tendency to forget and wander off, and then just take my wet wipe and wipe over the whole thing. And yes, if you want to make sure your fingers are clean as you go along, that'll just help you not stick to your project too, which is nice. Because sometimes we do get sticky by putting our fingers and picking something up and trying to set it in place, and then our fingers get all sticky. So
yeah, and then where's the fun in crafting, right?
Right. Right. Well, I'm almost done. I'm going to flip myself around here in a minute, because I'm almost done. All I'm doing this last little bit here is I'm now getting in between. I saved this for last because it's boring. Is getting in all the little cracks and crevices of this top piece. And you want to make sure you do that, because as you know, when you wear it, that part is going to be somewhat visible. It's not going to be as visible as the front, but it is still going to be visible. So you're going to want to finish it off by sort of tucking in there and just getting things in the little corners and in the creaks and cracks and such. It's
Yeah.
like saving your legs. Make sure you get behind your knees too, because otherwise it's a little scary back there. So get that on. Not many people see it, but the ones who are close enough to see it, you want them to not notice that giant hairy patch. So
Well put. That is something that I think we're all concerned about. I do have a couple of things that came to mind. As I'm sort of pressing all of this together and getting this assembled, how much do I need to push that rhinestone into the epoxy clay?
very good question. What I feel like is if you're pushing with a finger or a tool and you feel it go, gook, it's kind of like instead of on top is look, like if you were walking in the mud and it would be like you'd be a little bit worried if your shoe would come out.
Yeah.
That is about the perfect amount. You want it to just have a good grab. All right, so I think when you get a chance, I
Oh,
think I've
yeah.
got everything done. No rush,
Do
but I
this.
want to show everybody kind of the cracks and crevices. But you want to push it enough, and sometimes when you're pushing some in, it pushes others out. So when you're all done, it's kind of nice to kind of touch it all around. And like Nilay said, get that wet wipe in there and kind of clean off the surfaces. All right, so this is finished here, and if you can take a look, see up in here, I've got like enough up in here to make it look like I knew what I was doing, which you guys all know that all I was doing was shoving things. And then if you decide I could use another pom-pom, you could still make one now and add it, no problem.
I love that. I am so fixated on getting this done too that I'm like rushing to get these crystals in. But I
I
feel
know
like
it's rough,
the
isn't it, when you
detail.
want to get it's hard because you're also doing a lot of the techie stuff, so you're trying to create while you're figuring out what to do, and then
But
also
I'm
doing all
so into
the stuff.
this, and
So
I feel
that's
like
kind of
the
cool.
details are really what separates this from that next level too. And so you're
Yeah,
right, like, you have so many great well, okay, within your maker kits, oh my god, look at that.
isn't that fun?
I feel
So
like
in the
people need
maker
to pick
kit,
up your maker kit
the
because
ones that I haven't stolen the crystals out of, you would have gotten a bag full of those crystals, right?
please do not
Then
steal
there's just
crystals
for
out of
like the
someone else's
I know this one's gonna be cannibalized, but I put in a pair of gloves because you can use those over and over again. A little small silicone sheet to work on, needle nose tweezers, and a pickup pencil because those are important. So
Yeah.
that's like your basics. Then of course it's going to have you get to choose your color, black, white. I think on this one it might only be black and white, but it could also be. I also carry brown, green, and blue. So you've got some other choices. And then I put in a couple of things because you guys, beady people, you're going to have beads, but I put in my little bead still my heart mix. And it's just like a little weird mix of every kind of glass bead assortment because they're just stuff you can shove in. I also put some sterling silver ball tipped head pins because those can be used to, like, let's say you had some bicones, you wanted to stack up a few bicones and make them sticking out all
Yes.
around, you can use that.
It's
And they
nice.
also, like if you have a pearl or some other kind of bead with a hole in it, you want to put the bead in, but you don't want to see the hole, then you can use that to decorate it. So then there's a small little vial of earthy colored stones, and then a small vial of the rhinestones, the AB rhinestones. So it's kind of like it is your basic maker's kit. It just gets you started on everything you would need to get started, except for the silver silk, of course, which we know where they can get that.
Absolutely. But I love that your rhinestones includes all of the big sizes all the way to like the teeny, teeny, tiny, itty bitty
Yeah.
ones.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I
what
am a
I'm
big
going
fan of
for.
that because you do not want to just have the big ones. Like you saw how nice this looks. Let me grab it again so you can see it. How nice this looks to have such a big mix of big and little, right?
Yes.
See, isn't that like so
So
much better because
pretty.
you got all of they're all the way to the edge there. I've got my face in the way just so I can see if I've got it up to the camera. I still have yet to figure out how to put it in the right direction. Like we all have trouble with that because it's a mirrored image. Uh,
I love it.
but I just love that. And what it does too is it makes it super easy to do the kind of puzzle. What this is basically doing a puzzle. And if you've got all these different pieces that just fit in all kinds of different ways, then there's no like trying to figure it out right or wrong. You just keep shoving something in until you run out of space. And when the space is full, you're done. So that's kind of fun.
Yes, it's like diamond painting, but without a pattern.
Yeah, exactly. And you can actually use those diamond dots too. I know that they're sort of made out of plastics or resins, but they seem to work well if you push them in deep enough. They seem
Hmm.
to be great. Yeah, so they're really great. So let me see what you got going on yours.
Okay, okay, okay. I'm diligently putting all this together,
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
it's, it's coming along.
I
Let's see.
like that.
Move the squishy
Little
dude out of
squishy.
the way.
You can use the squishy to pick up random
I
beads that get
know.
out of the way. Just squish him right on
Just
his butt and he'll pick them right up for you.
here, a little earring now. Oh, it dropped it. Okay, enough of
Aw.
that. Let's gonna hold this up and show you.
Oh, doesn't that look great? Look at how shiny. Oh, I love it.
It's so pretty, and I've got so much detail to add, but I'm pretty excited about that because I love getting into the weeds and stuff. But this is truly an exploration on not being afraid of color and just doing something that
Yes.
feels and just
Yeah.
is wonderful. And
And I,
let me go ahead
yeah,
and
I agree with you. And I really want to remind people that if you're looking at yours and you're going, I don't really like it right now, that's because you haven't put enough stuff in it yet.
that is true.
Because there's a certain point where you're like, oh, this is and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, I like this now. And that is when like every surface is covered with shininess and you can't see the clay anymore. I mean, that's when it starts looking good. I mean, the more space you can see, the less finished it looks, and that
Yes.
bothers our sensibilities. But when it's got more fun goodness all filled up, then it can be like, oh, yay. And you can put as many of those pom-poms in too. The reason I put them in like that is I just thought it kind of gave that big firecracker, hello, look at me kind of a feel, which sometimes we like that.
It needed some other, like, dimension to it, and I think that that's what it added to it is just yeah, it makes it feel like fireworks.
Yeah, it does. That's exactly it. You got the sparkle, you got the shimmer, you got the kapow. It's very fireworky. So if anybody has questions, while Nilay is doing his stuff, of course, I'm trying to see if anybody had like a question, just a tech question, but I think we're covering it so well
Well,
that there's
you
really very few questions, I'm sure. Will the crystals hold, or will you have to put some gloss over it? Do not, thank you, Lorena, do not put gloss over it because it will look dumb.
mm,
Yeah, gloss over crystal. I know sometimes you're like, oh, I really want to make sure it holds, but there's something about it, just like it dulls all the shine, and you lose your facets, and you'll have regret. You'll have
yeah,
regret.
don't do that
So
because
this
it'll just
will grab it fantastic. If you push all of those crystals in so that you can feel them kind of sink in and grab. That's why once I mix it up, I only mix enough that I can cover fully in about an hour's time. If you work really slowly, number one, no judgment. There is no prize for speed when it comes to art. If you work really slowly, then I would suggest that you do that back part. You put your SilverSilk Kabam in there with the little covering of clay, right? So, at the first we did the little, like a strip to hold the little loops in place. And then you just do that. You just cover that part up. Then you mix a little bit more and do the body, because epoxy clay goes right on top of itself. It doesn't matter how dry it is or still anywhere along the way, you can add more. And the more you put in there, you can just keep on working right on top of it. Not a problem. If you do something and you go, oh, I really wish I would have put this thing right on top of that, mix up a little bit more, stick it right on top of everybody and put another thing on top. There really isn't any wrong way to do it. And that way you can work a little bit more slowly and not feel stressed. Because to me, the point of creativity is we get to tap in to just the great unfolding of the joy of the universe. So if it's stressful, we want to try to minimize that, because this is one of those few times when you can lose yourself. You can just be in the flow. You can totally enjoy. There's nobody yelling at you. You're not, you don't have to please
yeah.
anybody but yourself. So do not put pressure on yourself. What's the worst that can happen? You ruin a few dollars worth of crystals and clay. That's like the equivalent of going out and having a meal that wasn't that great at a restaurant. There'll be another meal around the corner. So you just make, and if it's garbage, then you put it in a playground for a child to find.
I like that plan. That is a good idea.
You want to play. You want your creativity time to be joyful, I think.
Yeah.
And that means just lower your expectations and the pressure on yourself. because it's just a bonus if you
100%.
make something really cool. That's just like an extra. But you had time and you played and you didn't have to do any adulting.
Oh my gosh, this
That in
meeting
itself
with me,
is worth
it was so
that.
perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still sitting here going at it as you are giving, like, coaching advice to me.
Right. See, I
All of
like
us
that
out
because
there.
then we can watch you make while I yammer endlessly about things and just tell you my philosophy of life, which,
I am
no extra charge.
living for it. I am living for every single word. Oop, that was too
But
big.
I do think it's fun, and we all know that because we're here because we like to create, and we are creators
Yes.
because we know that joy when you slip into the flow. There's nothing quite like that. Now, all the creativity is nice. You might have wedding favors you're trying to do or trying to get some holiday thing done. Those are all great and they're all fantastic and nothing wrong with that. But those times when you just are like, everything else goes away and you're just sticking crystals in and looking at your thing, those are beautiful moments. And the more of those we can have, the better. Stacy says, I love your playful approach. Thank you, Stacy. I really want to, that's kind of my thing. I kind of consider myself a bit of a creative cheerleader. I just want to sis boom ba about just make stuff, just make stuff. The rest will work itself out. And and Nilay, you can say this, I'm sure, with 100% persuasion, is that when you are creating in a place of just no pressure, joy, flow, it's almost always going to turn out way better than the times when you were stressing over it and trying to follow the directions and all that stuff. Because when you just let go and create, it almost always is awesome. There's a few
1000%
times I've
agree.
made some stuff that really sucks once in a while, but generally speaking, it comes out really good. So there's a little bonus to that too.
Yeah, when you're
Um,
not putting the pressure on yourself to do something that you have to get it done or like it has to be perfect, and you just let those expectations go and you walk in thinking, I don't know what I'm gonna make, but I'm just gonna do something that I enjoy and gets my mind focused on something else for a hot second.
yes, yes,
That's when it
we
starts
need
to
that
turn out
so
better.
badly. We have way too many things on our plate that are boring and dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just we have
Exactly.
to do them, but they're boring and dumb. So whenever you get to do something that isn't, enjoy it, thoroughly. Um, Attachment for purses, says Lorena. That's a great idea. Sami Stahimili, Paulette Map. I'm not sure which one of those are a name that you go by, but whichever of you that is, you say that you enjoyed the presentations. They're so much fun. I appreciate that, and I'm really glad. I'm seeing a lot of you now that I have a moment to read. Yeah, there's so many things you guys are saying, which I love. I'm going to go back and read all the comments so I don't miss out. Fun to get new things out and experiment. Doesn't have to be perfect, says Carolyn. Absolutely. And I think Nilay and I have enjoyed doing these things together because this epoxy clay just belongs with SilverSilk. It
Yeah.
just does. There's so much stuff you can do. You could just put a blob of it. Like, let's just say you made a chain of several strands of SilverSilk, right? And then
Mhm.
you just put blobs of epoxy clay on it and stuck a few crystals or pearls or whatever just for funsies. I
You
mean,
know,
how
I
fun
might
would
get
that
to
be?
try
And
that
it's,
because
yeah.
I have some epoxy clay left over from this project, and that had crossed my mind. I was like, why not just make a bead that is the centerpiece that's just kind of like this in a concept, but just wrapped around the silver silk and call it good? Because sometimes that instant gratification and the extra sparkles
Oh my goodness.
totally makes my day.
Totally, absolutely. And if you find one of those things, and it's tricky, but you could try it with different kinds of beads or little
Mhm.
dots or whatever. It's like you could stick that little blob in there and just have a bucket of that and just shove it all on and let it all like grab. It would take you 2 seconds, and you might be like, "Oh my God, it's my favorite!" So you just don't know until you do it. So if you've got extra silver soap lying around, why not just blob some on there and see what happens? They
I
can be
love buckets
toys
of
or they
blob
can be,
of silver silk. That's my
right?
favorite takeaway from today.
You should just sell packets of Blabo Silver Silk. So that
Blob of silver
because when I
silk.
look at Neely, I think, yeah, that guy, he's into the blobs, right? Not. You're always so organized and everything's pretty. It's got labels on it, and the boxes are labeled. Like, man, that guy's got his act together. I'll tell you what, this can he market or what? I mean, his packaging and stuff is always so delightful. It's kind of like I just need to own his boxes and never unwrap them because they're all labeled properly and they look great.
I tried. That's not always the case, but sometimes.
So how's it coming? I was watching you. You're
Oh,
almost done, yeah?
let me add it back to the
Or
stick.
maybe you're done. Look
I,
at
you
how
know,
good that turned
I
out.
still
Oh,
need to decorate the sides and the
little
center
teeny
part,
teeny up there, yeah.
but like I'm
But
trying to decide. I think this crystal's a little too dark for up here, and so I might sub it out with something brighter.
oh yeah, something more pizzazz, make your eye
Yeah,
jump up
I
there.
feel like
Oh
this
yeah, yeah,
would
yeah, yeah,
add
yeah.
a little
I like
extra.
that better. Yep.
Yeah, me too. Save that
Yeah.
for another
It's
time, but
bringing the party up to the top, which is
yeah,
great.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what made me wonder. I wanna keep the purple, but then I'm like, "Is that too dark? I don't know." Maybe I go with the blue. That's kind
Let's
of the
see.
fun thing is,
Don't
like,
you
this
love this? You can just peel one out and pop the other one
it's
back in.
kinda
It's
still
easy.
malleable, yeah, like, I
Yeah.
can peel it out and then just add in
And if it
this.
has any trouble grabbing, you just stick a little bit more on there if you need to. Oh, I kind of like that better. What do you guys think? I like that
This row.
because that really ends on the bottom in a nice way. I like that.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Yeah. If you keep it like that, I would love that. But you can do whatever you want since it's yours. But I do like that.
I love it. I'm gonna keep it and
Yeah,
add some more stones at the bottom to kind
I
of fill
love
it up.
that.
Otherwise, it's coming
Yep. I
together!
know, right? These are party time. Woo
It is
woo.
party time. Oh my god. You know what I love about this design is this is the sort of stuff I see in fashion that is runway ready, and it I don't know, something about it and how those details come together makes it seem very fashionable and very expensive, but we're just using
Yeah,
very inexpensive materials. I think the
yeah,
shine and the sparkle because they look incredible, and this whole
yeah,
thing just comes together. It's going to look at the end like a very expensive piece that you've gotten bespoke made for you, and
yeah.
that is the one thing that my initial response to when you first showed me the project was that this is
Oh,
expensive, but it's not.
I'm glad because I think because you've got large and small crystals, it's really shining the light in a very look at me kind of way. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think that it definitely can look that way, especially if you're using just the clean lines of the silver silk and you're not getting anything crazy in the necklace part, then that thing makes it just look like, oh, that is a piece, a focal piece that you're drawing attention to, and it's shimmering everywhere. So I'm really glad you liked it. Thank you, Nile. That's very
I
kind of
loved it.
you. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna finish the rest of this off camera, and I'll
I
be moving
knew. I
to
knew you
the
would because it's looking
silk.
good. It's
I
looking
can't
great.
wait. I'm so excited about it. I'm
And
gonna
I'll make
post.
one little comment if I could interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
You'll notice on the back of the one that I finished before, it's just boring and dumb. It had some leftover gunk. It's just nothing. What you can do is you can mix up a little teeny bit more of epoxy clay and just cover that whole back side just
ooh,
to finish that off. And you could even, I would say something like this, you couldn't really easily do it reversible because what is going on behind there? But you can, just put like some texture if you have a stamp or something, or you want to just put some little dots or some lines, then it finishes the back off like super amazing.
I love
Which,
that idea.
unless somebody's looking at it, nobody would know, but you would know and you'd be more impressed with yourself. So,
Well, if you decided to make this in mass production for your next jewelry show, then maybe just putting a little stamp or something on the back could be a great
absolutely.
way to put
Yeah.
your branding on it.
Yeah, it really would. Exactly. Yeah, would be good. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I know somebody will go, how do you finish off the back? That's how.
No, that's a
Just a
great
little bit
question.
more epoxy clay. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a great comment. So, yay!
Yay, I like it. I had fun. What do you guys think? Did you like it? Add a large SS on the back. Yeah, SilverSilk. Yeah, baby.
There
And
we
looks
go,
like
a
people are
large hat.
liking the blue. Yep, I'm seeing the things. Okay, good. It looks like no like major questions. I think we covered the bases, baby.
I think
Right?
you did amazing, Christy, and the fact
We
that
did
I
so
got,
good.
like, over 70% finished in
Yours
a
was
class,
fabulous.
that's
I
kind of saying
love it. It's just fabulous. Yeah, it is fun. I mean, it really is
so
easy and fun. The more you make them, the more fun they are. You just can't go wrong. So whenever you're, all the beads of the universe you can play with. I've got a lot of YouTube stuff that where I'm using epoxy clay and making different things from it. So if you want to branch out into using some more of your materials, but I love incorporating the silver silk in it because it just looks really fun and really classy. And as Nilay said, I mean, if you just had your capture chain and you just put that pendant shaped block right on top of it and maybe did it long and narrow instead of, the sky's the limit, man.
it
I think
really
it would just be wonderful fun.
Well, I appreciate you, Christy, for bringing your amazing talent and personality to
Um,
Silver Silk
Thank
Land
you.
and coming up with this amazing project. Y'all, I want you guys out there to do a couple things. First of all, find Christy's YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. Give her some likes and thumbs up on the videos that you enjoy with the
It's
epoxy
Christi
clay.
Universe.
Yes.
Christi Universe. Yeah, that's where I'm
And
at.
then I
Yeah.
want you
Thank
guys
you.
out there to grab that maker kit from Christy because this is the best, like, comprehensive kit, I think, for epoxy clay. After now
Yeah.
seeing it and being told what's in it, Christy, please don't take out the sparkles from those.
I won't. I only had this one cannibalized set, and the rest are there, so they're good. But I can't find those big ones anymore. So grab them while you can, because that's all I had left.
Oh,
Yikes.
perfect. Y'all, you have your assignment out there.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm going to finish this off camera, but I just want to say thank you for an amazing evening, Christy. I love spending time with you, whether it
Thanks
is
for
you.
asking me. I always love when you want to do something with me. It's always such a fun thing. I'm like,
It
heck yeah,
always
win. Let's do it.
such a fun time. And you know what? I'm going to take this camera out for a second and I'm just going to just say this that I enjoy our time at the Great Beat Extravaganza and our time together on these workshops. So, and you always bring the fun. It's like I should be the mouth down here. And this is
Oh,
my
I
mouth.
like that when it's like a mask and your mouth is still there. Oh, that's a
Yeah,
superhero.
I'll keep it.
The great squishy Avenger.
Squish.
I love it.
Uh, every time I feel like my stomach hurts by the time I leave. So I
Then
just want
you
to
know it's
toast
been a
to you.
good day. Oh, yes. Wherever my drink is, that is
Have your
here. It
drink.
hasn't been all the way spilled.
That's okay.
Cheers. Thanks,
Cheers.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody. And tomorrow we've got a fun-filled day as well. Lots of tutorials coming up during this week at the Beadscapade, and hope to see you at the next tutorial. Mwah.